Politicians in the West genuinely believe that they've brokered peace with the Gaza ceasefire, when in reality, they've all been duped, and I can prove it. So while they're all busy patting themselves on the back and celebrating the ceasefire as a step towards peace, those that are actually responsible for October the 7th are openly telling the Arabic-speaking world the real reason they accepted the ceasefire. And spoiler alert, it's got nothing to do with peace. So, right on cue, here's David Lammy, the UK Foreign Secretary.
It would be a tragedy to let slip the chance before us. We must grab it with both hands, the chance not just for a ceasefire, but for a lasting peace.
After 15 months of war, the world is desperate for peace, and well-meaning peace seekers like David Lammy are now celebrating this ceasefire. But it's a bad ceasefire, as not only does it demand that Israel withdraw from Gaza and exchange hostages for murderers, but it ensures that Hamas survive and are able to carry out October the 7th style attacks again and again and again. But it's not just Western leaders that are celebrating the ceasefire. Here's Hamas's newly appointed leader, Khalil al-Hayya, openly praising the ceasefire's terms. And this is from his ceasefire acceptance speech, which I'll be quoting throughout this video.
Our leaders and our martyrs. The deal is profitable, God willing. And they did not recover the hostages except through an agreement with the resistance to stop the war and aggression in an honorable exchange deal.
Now, if Western politicians had stopped and listened to the speech, perhaps, just maybe, they'd be asking themselves, wait a minute, why is he praising the ceasefire? Maybe it isn't that good. But they didn't stop to listen. Instead, they were too busy praising it themselves.
We're handing off then to the next team a real opportunity for a better future for the Middle East. I hope they will take it.
They're endorsing the ceasefire because they mistake it for peace. But a ceasefire and peace are not the same thing. A ceasefire is simply a pause in the violence, whereas peace is an end to it. And a ceasefire is totally meaningless when one side openly vows to continue the conflict, which is exactly what Hamas said they would do, incredibly, during their acceptance of the ceasefire. But no one was listening.
Our great people, our Arab and Islamic nation, and the free people of the world, the Battle of Al-Aqsa Flood has marked an important turning point in the history of our cause and the stages of our great people's resistance. The effects of this battle will continue and will not stop, God willing, with the end of this battle. And what happened on the 7th of October was a miraculous military and security achievement carried out by the Al-Qassam elite. It will remain a source of pride for our people and our resistance, passed down from generation to generation.
Does that sound like a call for peace? It sounds like a victory speech to me. A victory speech with the promise of more violence.
And our people will not forget everyone who participated in the war of extermination, whether those who provided it with political and media cover, or those who provided thousands of tons of bombs and explosives that were dropped on the heads of our people, sons, daughters, and children in the Gaza Strip. We affirm that all these criminals will receive the punishment for what they have done, even if after some time.
That's another explicit threat of violence. But are Western politicians listening? Of course not. They still naively view the ceasefire as a pathway to peace, while Hamas see it as an opportunity to pause, rearm, and then launch the next October 7th. And why wouldn't they? Our Western politicians are literally rewarding those who carried out the atrocity with exactly what they want.
But it must also, and I've been talking to regional leaders about this, be used obviously to get through the various stages, but also as a path to a lasting peace, which has to be a two-state solution, a viable Palestinian state.
But as I prepare to leave office, Our friends are strong, our enemies are weak, and there's a genuine opportunities for a new future. And for the Palestinian people, a credible pathway to a state of their own.
But we must try to use this agreement to establish a credible pathway to a two-state solution.
Did you catch that? They want to reward the perpetrators of October the 7th with exactly what they want. A state. This isn't going to deter violence, it's going to encourage it, a point which isn't lost on Al-Haya.
We will continue our efforts with our brothers in all Palestinian forces and factions to build and strengthen our national unity and build and complete the path to achieve our national goals. In conclusion, this battle that started for the sake of Jerusalem will remain with Jerusalem and Al-Aqsa as our compass and the focus of our jihad and resistance until liberation and the establishment of an independent state with Jerusalem as its capital, God willing.
Hamas are explicit. They're openly admitting that this ceasefire is just another phase in their violent march on Jerusalem. So, why are Western politicians ignoring all of this? Biden claims our enemies are weak. But these words don't sound weak, they sound emboldened. Starmer talks about a pathway to peace. But the only peace Hamas want are as many pieces of Israel that they can conquer. Western leaders simply aren't listening. They imagine a fantasy world where the regime in Gaza longs for peace, but they're projecting their own hopes onto Gaza. If instead of projecting they stopped and actually listened to what Hamas was saying, they'd realise that this ceasefire doesn't advance peace. Instead, it serves as an opportunity for Hamas to regroup, rearm and continue their war. Instead of stopping the cycle of violence, it guarantees the next wave.